And I wanted to ask you, because I know you know the answer to this, what is young adult fiction? I mean, why do we need it? Why do you like it? Who's the audience? Is there such a thing as a young adult? I mean, we still believe there's children. We know there's adults.
What's the difference?
What's the difference?
Well, young adult is a marketing title. It's actually a marketing tool, really. And it's fairly new. I would say it's about 15 to 20 years old, and it helps both writers and publishing houses to make a package for a very big new market, which is, I would say, 13 years old to about 24 years old. And it is a very specific type of fiction. Generally, it's maybe a little less sophisticated than adult fiction. The emotions are more straightforward and clearer. There's less ambiguity in the fiction. It's mostly younger protagonists. Like, my protagonists are 12 years old in my first book and 16 in my second book. You don't have a young adult book that is told by a 35-year-old man, for example.
So it's really point of view of the narrator.
Yes, it's generally geared to the developmental level of a young person. You know, it's not really meant for older people. Kind of like a picture book is for kids. You know, and I wrote my first book just as a book, not as an adult or young adult. And it wasn't until I found my agent who read it and said, "This is a young adult book." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Your character is 12 years old, and it's told in the first person, and she's very straightforward and unsophisticated and
it's incredible."
Yeah.
So Faulkner would have some stories that are young adult fiction, right?
There are a lot. J.D. Salinger.
Right.
There are a lot who, I think it could have been maybe a population thing. Now there's just a boom of these people, these young people today. And it could also be simply a marketing tool. That's how I look at it. And there are things when I wrote my second book, I realized I should avoid too much sex, too many curses, because the gatekeepers, which are the librarians and the teachers who teach or tell the children about these books, don't want to have to deal with these kind of things like pornography or, you know, too much sex or
bodice ripping scenes.
I mean, there are young adult books that have those themes, but they're outside of the teaching or the educational field. So sometimes there are breakthrough books, but there's not a lot of them. So usually YA authors try to be careful about what they're writing, you know, because we're trying to help kids figure out their own feelings.
Do you go to, you know, conferences and meetings or take courses or anything? Have you got colleagues who write the same kind of stuff?
I do.
Do you have a mentor, or is this sort of a solitary?
Well, for me, the new social things like Facebook and so on are helping me to reach out to other YA authors and blogging and guest blogging and so on. And I do go to conferences, but writing is solitary, and it's something I do by myself. And publicity and all those things that are connected to the book, that's when I really talk to YA authors to find out, well, who's my market, who am I talking to, you know, who's going to read a book about a girl who wants to be a scientist, you know, or a doctor. And there are lots of them. Like, I started a blog called Girls with Glasses, you know, because I want those kind of girls to read my stuff. But
and that is the age where that question comes up. Like, why do you want to do that?
You mean be a doctor?
Well, yeah. Well, our medical schools and law schools are, you know, recently, within the last couple of decades, half populated by female students. Now, where did that all happen?
You know, I don't know why it's a news flash nowadays, but women are very smart. You know,
yeah. Well,
and they've always been just as smart as men.
Well, I think they've always been a little smarter. If you again,
there's probably been a woman figuring things out.
If you read the history, even even in old plays like Macbeth, you find out that Lady Macbeth is trouble. It's very interesting, though, in America, and this goes back to a theme that we've talked about briefly before, is about you want Americans to know who they are. And this is one of the American things, is that women have had to fight for attention. Not that men haven't had to also. I mean, it comes out of this really hidebound, aristocratic kind of background.
Right.
The leader, president, warrior thing, chief,
Right.
And everybody else is like following orders. Unfortunately.
Well, for women, I find when I read about history, I find it's who's most beautiful, and the pressure to be beautiful.
Yeah.
And what if you're not,
Right.
And what if you're smart and you're beautiful inside?
What if you're Eleanor Roosevelt?
Yeah. What if you care a lot about people? What if you want to change things?
Yeah.
Where's your place
as
a woman?
That. Yeah, where is it? And how do we find it?
So that's what I'm exploring.
Yeah.